Well, hello, everybody. My name is Amit. Welcoming with me Rich McKee from Marketplace Sotheby's. Nice to see you, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always something different in real estate. We were talking earlier about how you see the market, and you said something interesting, that you see it as both a buyer and seller's market kind of simultaneously, and that's not usual or typical. So I want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's something that I've really found is it's so unique right now in the fact that we don't normally we will see it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market, and I'm finding we're in a kind of a very strange void that we don't normally see in the real estate market, and that's that from a buyer's perspective, there's some great opportunities out there that because of the dip in the market that we saw, we're seeing that there's a lot of houses that people have had on market for some time and haven't had success yet. And so they're kind of antsy, anxious to sell. So from a buyer's perspective, there can be some opportunity with homes that have been on the market for some time like that. On the flip side of that, I say, it's a seller's market. And it's like, how's it a seller's market if people aren't buying? Well, there's our other reality to it is with this shift that we're starting to see right now, which that's what I'll be looking to you for some insight for as well.
Sure.
Is this shift that we're seeing. Buyers are starting to come out right now.
Right.
And because these buyers are coming out, it's overall, I'm seeing kind of a shift in both buyers and sellers with the mindset that it's okay. It's okay to buy and sell homes again.
Right,
so,
right.
Because of that, we have not very much inventory right now. Mm-hmm. Just in Woodinville, for example, right now, there's 38 homes for sale.
Wow, that's it.
38
in
homes.
the entire market
All of
for
Woodinville.
Woodinville.
And
Wow.
Woodinville covers both King and Snohomish County.
Wow.
So
wow.
As opposed to normally, we're going to see twice as many on a low side and triple digits oftentimes. So to have so few homes available right now, that's when I say with the buyers that are starting to consider purchasing right now, great opportunity because of some homes that are out there. For a seller to get on market right now, it's a great time because of the lack of inventory, and yet there's buyers that are coming out of the woodwork now. And that's what I'm noticing, and I see they're starting to come out right now, it's mainly because what I'm seeing is that people are saying, okay, these interest rates of 3%, yeah, those days are gone.
Right.
And the days of the numbers that we are seeing now has kind of become more of a norm for us.
Sure.
And so I think that from an interest rate perspective, that's what's given buyers a little bit more confidence, saying, okay, this is what it is now, so I guess back to normal. That, and then the other thing that I've been witnessing and talking and hearing a lot of people say is that the media has been doom and gloom. It's recession, depression, coming, and they've been saying it for almost a year now.
Right. At least that long.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
And they're starting to realize that it's not as bad as everybody's saying. So, again, that's where I think the buyer's confidence is coming out. And so from a seller's perspective, they're saying, hey, I can sell and now I can move to my next home. So that's kind of my vision of what I'm seeing in the market and from my clients right now, both my buyers and my sellers.
Wow, that is really insightful. And I agree with you. I think we're in a new normal. I never liked that expression. It's always sat like a bone in my throat. I didn't care for it, but it's true. I think that we're at a point now where people have accepted that the rates are where the rates are. We've waited as long as we dare. We may see some relief down the road and refinance later on, but we need that new house. The kids are getting bigger, or there's another one on the way, and we just simply don't have the space. And rather than wait longer and be more miserable, they're just taking that opportunity right now because not as many buyers are in the market at the moment. And so they can still negotiate a deal. Maybe not as much of a deal as they would have liked, but in time, they'll not be able to negotiate any deal because there's going to be a lot more buyers than there are sellers. We have, as you probably remember, we have a historical problem with inventory here.
Sure do.
And that's not going to go away. In fact, I think that the more buyers come out of hibernation, it's going to appear even worse than it did in 2021. And 2021 was a great year, but there was a lot of heartache.
There was a lot of heartache with buyers. Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. People forget that, right? We forget about those things. We just think about, well, the interest rates were so low, and it was like, deals were falling from the sky, and everybody was doing great. And we were doing really well. But I would do 10 pre-approval letters in a week, and maybe 2 of those buyers would have their offer accepted, which means that 80% were home crying that they didn't get the house that they really loved.
Yeah, it was a very tough time for a lot of people, and it was the level of confidence that people had in that market was so down because they had to pay such a premium over what market value was for a home at the time.
Right.
So
right.
now that's leveled out, which we needed. We needed the market to shift, to be able to normalize a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think that it shifted a little aggressively, but
Sure.
that was out of all of our control.
Right, right. Well, I think you're spot on, though, with regard to the media as well. When you're hearing constantly doom and gloom and your job is not secure and the stock market is going to crash and, you can't help, even if you're an optimistic person like I am, you can't help but let some of that, well, what if they're right? And what if I need to make a huge change in my life? Do I really want to be tied down to this mortgage right now? And so I can appreciate people being uncomfortable and taking a little bit of time, but it's been a solid year.
It has
and
been. Yeah.
Armageddon has not come. Thank goodness.
Yes.
I don't know what the future is going to bring, but I think we're going to see in the immediate term more people in the spring market and in the summer market that they have to make a move.
Well, they do, and I think that we're a little insulated here too, in the fact that with this market that we're in, we've got so many. The tech industry is so heavy here, and we look at how many funds are pumped into our market, into the greater Seattle area, for especially the tech industry and the continued growth of that. And so we find ourselves with so many buyers coming from not just out of city, not just out of state, out of country. So, and especially with being a part of Sotheby's, we see buyers coming from all over the globe.
Wow.
And we're still seeing that today. And so, again, I attribute a lot of that to the tech industry and how heavy of a presence we have of that here.
What a great place to work, though, where you get exposure to the global marketplace.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that way.
That's fantastic. I think, how are these buyers? They're coming from a different market, right? So they may not be prepared for the Great Northwest and the limited inventory that we've got and just the way homes are situated or priced. How are you dealing with some of these kind of cultural differences or expectation differences? I'm sure there's got to be some coaching involved.
There is quite an education process that goes with it, and explaining the process of buying and what some of the expectations are, and helping buyers understand that we are in a unique market. We're in a market where it's not as much, say, negotiation or concessions from sellers because of the competition of buyers that there are out there. So there's a lot of education that goes with it, but my buyers, my clients have always been very, very understanding of it and very patient. And I think that for any agent, if it's delivered and explained properly, it helps give the buyers a peace of mind. So even if they wind up having to make offers on 3, 4, 5, 10 plus different homes, they understand why.
Yeah. I remember speaking with buyers 2 years ago, 2021. They didn't want to see the house more than one time.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't want to take the risk of falling in love with it and not getting their offer accepted with all the other competing offers. And so they're buying a home practically sight unseen with the just heavy heart that they were not expecting to win in a competitive offer situation, and they just didn't want to be attached to the property.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to overcome.
It's a really hard thing to overcome, but also the other concessions that a lot of sellers were making, such as waiving inspections, which just absolutely drives me nuts. The level of risk that goes with that, I'm not comfortable with. But so there's a lot of concessions that buyers were making, and so while I say that we are in this paradigm shift, where with the way things are shifting right now, a lot of buyers have had this opportunity to be able to have inspections and not be as competitive. That being said, we've already seen a change. I've already heard just in the last week alone, multiple counterparts of mine that have had offers made on homes, and there's been 4, 5, 6 offers.
Wow.
At least. So.
Wow. And that's as of this week.
As of this week, yeah.
Wow.
In fact, my wife owns Bella Vita Staging and Design, and so she works with many different agents. And with the staging side of it, she staged a home for an agent in Renton last week, and it sold in 24 hours with multiple offers.
That's like being in a time machine and going back to 2021.
We're right back to it.
It's amazing. Yeah. It must be interesting being married to someone who works in the industry. Yeah. You guys have a lot to talk about other than family and life in general. You have business that you can discuss, and she's giving you insight about other agents who've got properties in other parts of this market and what they're experiencing.
Yeah, the team that we are together, and we have a lot of fun. And yes, the insight that I'm able to get from her is very beneficial for me.
That's really cool. But going back to the story, so within 24 hours, multiple offers. Yep. I would imagine that the offer that won probably was paying more than what the sellers were asking because they had their choice. And I wonder what other concessions they gave. I'm not going to ask to dig into other people's business like that, but certainly the market's changed. It's not going to be like this forever where you've got time on the market. Even the homes that are sitting on the market. I was reading a Facebook post today. All this stuff is anecdotal, guys. I mean, that's just the way it is. We're getting real-time information by talking to our colleagues, talking to our competitors, talking to our rivals, talking to people we do business with, or just scrolling their Facebook. Yes, I still use Facebook, guys. Don't be too harsh on that.
I do too.
Yeah, I love Facebook. I know, but I'm old and I'm comfortable with it. But in any event, I was scrolling through that, and someone was saying that they had homes that were on the market for like 130 days, 140 days, and as soon as their clients put an offer in, competing offers started to come in. Yeah. And I know that to a certain degree, that's the listing broker doing their job. Right? The moment you've got an offer on a home, if you've had other interested parties, you have to do your sellers the service of letting other people know, hey, we're getting offers. Your time on the fence is no longer here. It's either get off or get in. Yeah. And that's fair. As a listing broker, you want to do the best for your sellers. So you want to give people the opportunity to know what's going on with that home. But it's uncanny. The moment I want something, boom, everybody else gets wise to the fact that it's been on the market for 140 days. Yeah. That's got to be somewhat frustrating and somewhat scary.
Yeah. Well, it's, talk about this shift in the market we've seen already. I have a client who's looking at homes in the North Bend area. This home here that they were looking at was priced at $870,000. Updates in the home. It was built in the 50s, and I believe the sellers updated a few light bulbs.
Wow. Vintage.
Very vintage home. Now, it did have some pretty views of Mount Si and things like that, but outside of that, it was a simple 1,500 square foot Rambler that hadn't been updated at all, and just a nice, simple little clean house, listed for $870,000. My clients wanted to see it, so I called, chatted with the agent because it had a review date. You guys remember what that is? An offer review date? This one had one. So I called, spoke with the agent because my clients weren't interested in going to see it, and turns out she already had 4 offers in hand with 2 more offers coming in, and were expected to escalate well over list.
Wow.
We didn't even bother to go looking at it.
Wow. Honestly, it's like being in a time machine.
It is.
That is exactly what we experienced in 2021, to the point where the sellers got conditioned. Right? I mean, sellers in 2022 and early part of 23, but they remember 21. Yeah. And they're saying, hey, my neighbor got ... It was chaos. There were cars parked all up and down the street. They did an open house, or they got 12 offers before the open house, people trying to take it off the market and buy it before it was exposed fully to the market. Mm-hmm. That's what they were conditioned. Yeah. And they feel that they were denied that in 2022. Because the market shifted the way it did so radically. Mm-hmm. And so maybe some of them have been holding off on listing and bringing their homes to the market just because they're waiting to try to get back to that energy. Yeah. And I think there might actually be rewarded for that, because what you're telling me is not the first time I've heard this.
Yeah. And is that something you've been seeing from some of the other agents you work with, is multiple offers and having to rewrite them?
Absolutely. Yep. We're seeing that as well. So it depends on the house. Like, it's really uncanny.
Very true.
2021, the minute it hit, it was like putting blood in the water with sharks. The sharks just woke up. The moment they smelled that thing, they were on it. Now it's a little bit more selective, but more and more I'm seeing homes with multiple offers, with price escalations. I closed one on February 1st. They went into contract over MLK holiday weekend. So what was that, January 19th, January 18th? So it wasn't that long. We had to close quick. It was a 15-day close. Wow. They escalated above asking price. It was a small 1,264 square foot home in Seattle. Not a palace, but they escalated above asking price. They waived financing. They waived inspection. And they said, hey, we're going to close in 15 days. And I got the contract, and I said, okay, well, we're going to have to make this happen because we got no choice. But that's what it took. And there were 6 offers. And that was in January. It's only going to get worse as we get to the spring and summer selling season. I want to ask you a question. It's a personal question, but it's also a professional question. Yeah. And there's a reason for it. How old were you when you bought your first home? Do you remember?
24.
Oh, man. You were young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been conditioned in my family to own real estate.
Okay. All right. So you were coached properly. Yes. Do you know what the average age is for a first-time home buyer in the U.S.?
I don't, actually.
I fit that demographic. 33 years old.
Is it?
Yes. And I bought the first home that I owned was in Somerset, Bellevue. We closed right before New Year's in 2003. I wish I had that home still. I'm not going to kid you.
No kidding.
That house did great for us. But the reason I bring this up is because the average is 33 years old nationally. And the reason that's important is that in current demographics, that's the millennial generation. Yes. Like people who are 33 years old now are square in the big part of the millennial generation's bell curve. And there are tens of millions of people that fit this sort of description. Mm-hmm. And I bring this up because we have buyers, I think, that are still sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
And we have buyers that are still waiting for Armageddon. I remember 2008. I was part of the mortgage industry that led up to 2008. I'm not taking responsibility. I'm just saying I was part of it. Yeah, it was. Well, we did the loans that we were allowed to do, and those loans, some of them turned bad. Many of them turned bad. But we were allowed to do it, so with a grain of salt. Yes. But there were not enough buyers in 2006 and 2005. There were not a lot of 33-year-olds at that time. That's our generation, right? We're about the same age. That's Gen X.
Yes.
And Gen X is a tiny cohort of people compared to the millennials. But on average, most people buy right around their early 30s. And the reason we did the crazy loans that we did in 2006, in 2007, 2005, we did stated income loans. We did interest-only loans. We did 100% financing loans. We did negative amortization loans. I don't even want to tell you what that is. It's a nightmare. But basically, you make the minimum payment, and the principal balance that you owe keeps growing because you're not even paying full interest due.
Yeah,
we did all sorts of crazy loans out there. The reason is because there just weren't enough buyers. And so we had tons of inventory. Totally different world. Tons of inventory, not enough buyers, had to get them into these properties. Let's find ways to creatively finance home ownership. This is completely different. So anyone who's thinking, hey, we've got 2008 coming, if you got '08 on the brain, you're going to miss out because there's no shortage of buyers right now. There's so many millennials.
Well, I heard, I remember '08, and I tell you, if I could have bought an entire neighborhood in '08, I would have done it.
Sure.
And when I look back at that time, I remember wealthy investors telling people, and they said, if you're in your home, stop freaking out. Just stay in it. Don't sell it. Don't take a loss. Stay in it. And the ones that took that advice, look what happened.
Right.
Their values shot through the ceiling. So, and that's the nature, that's the history of real estate. As we look at over years, we'll see the dips, we'll see the highs, but what we do know is the dips and highs continue to go up.
That's right.
And so that's why, to your point, with an average age of 33, which I didn't even realize it was that old.
Right.
Stop. Don't wait. You got to do it. It's all you're doing, if you're paying rent, you're paying somebody else's equity. You're building somebody else's equity.
That's right.
Build yours or build somebody else's. Which would you prefer? So that's something that I learned at a young age, and I'm glad it was drilled into my head, and I learned from it, and I've earned from it.
Of course, 24. I mean, that's phenomenal. Not many people have themselves financially put together enough to be able to do that. But what a great gift your family gave you by drilling that into your head, because that's one of the best ways to build wealth in this country.
Well, they say it's one of the best retirements there is.
Yeah.
And it's you can't argue it. You look at the history of real estate and how it repays, and it is a retirement.
It truly is. I'll give you another statistic. This one's really interesting. For the last 121 months, real estate values nationwide have appreciated year over year and month over month. 121 months, guys. I don't do a lot of math, but I can do this math. That's 10 years. 10 years. For the last 10 years, it's been going higher and higher and higher. And now that we hit this kind of lull, if you want to call it that, it's rolled over a little bit, and values have come down from their peak by about 2 or 3% nationwide. The Seattle market, I think,
different story.
A different story altogether. This last year was nothing but a speed bump in the rate of appreciation of real estate in this market. Because we just don't have the land, and we certainly just don't have that huge development. But if you've been sitting waiting for 10 years to buy, I mean, you've missed all these opportunities. There's an old saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you missed out 20 years ago, okay, don't cry about it. Get your shovel and start planting that tree today.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to miss out again.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's something where it's scary. It's understandable. It's scary. You buy a house, and now what? And now I own it, and now I'm responsible for it, and can I afford it? It's scary, but it's okay. And you look at historically what has happened with people after they buy the house, and all of a sudden they're excited about it, and then they start seeing the appreciation. You know, you talk about these values and what's happened over this last 120 plus months, and when we look at that, it's, you know, we saw some values that jumped over 10% in value. However, that's not normal.
Right.
And we shouldn't expect that normal. But it is normal to see, say, 3%, 3, 4, 5%. So for you to get 3+% return on your money just because you bought a house, not many places can you find that. You're not getting in your savings account.
That's exactly right.
So, again, that's
Absolutely
where it goes
right.
back to, it's okay to buy the house. Just do it.
Oh, it's the best advice. If I had one piece of advice to give somebody who is young, who's 24 years old, like you were when you bought your home, is buy that first house, buy it as soon as you can, come in with as little down payment as necessary, 3.5% for an FHA loan, 5% for a Fannie Mae loan, whatever it is. Get into that home, build equity, save money, do it again,
and
turn
there's
it into
so
a
many
rental.
ways to get the money. A lot of people say, I don't have enough down payment. Well, that's where we get creative people to come up with ways to get it. And there are a lot of creative ways to get down payment, to get money, to be able to purchase a home.
Not the least of which, here in Washington State, we've got the Washington State Finance Housing Commission. For first-time home buyers, they will give you a gift of up to 4% for a down payment. That's free money. 4% for the down payment. So if you're doing like an FHA loan that requires 3.5% minimum contribution, minimum down payment, you can get a gift for that entire down payment. So even if you haven't got the savings, or you can't get a gift from your family or whatever it is, you can get programs that are available to help you come into home ownership.
So do you pay that back?
Yes, you do, but you pay it with no interest. And so if they give you a gift of $10,000, as an example, that's a second lien on your title. So it is recorded, but there's no interest due, there's no interest collected, there's no interest accruing. It's just when you sell that home or you refinance, you have to give them back that $10,000. But doesn't matter. You're using that money for free, and you're getting the full value of the appreciation on the entire real estate.
Yep.
And then when you sell it or refinance it, then you give that money back, and they'll loan it out to somebody else or gift it out to somebody else. And for terms of definition, a first-time home buyer is only someone who's not owned a home in the last 3 years. That's how they define that. So even if you sold a home, had a home, and sold it at the peak, and now you're wait till 25, 26, you can be a first-time home buyer again and get a gift for your down payment.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. There's so many opportunities out there, and there's a lot of people that just talk themselves out of it before they even start. Oh, it's not for me. Oh, it's too expensive. I'll never save up 20%. I don't want to pay PMI. On and on and on it goes.
Yeah.
But the real wealth is built in this country by owning real estate.
Absolutely is. We look at the richest people in this world, and almost all of them have significant ties to real estate. That's our reality.
That's right.
So, and the fact that you have programs that says, hey, I don't have any money, but I want to buy a house. Okay, we can help. We can make that happen.
Right.
So what a great program, because the fact is even if you have to pay that money back, now all of a sudden with that appreciation and value over a period of time, you're still gaining. So it's a win-win.
It really is. It really is. And there's a lot of other things. There's other things that we can help with as well. I'm sure that some of the people you're talking to who are selling their homes have been thinking about concessions, closing cost credits, interest rate buy downs. I mean, it's still kind of a good time to be a buyer. The sellers are not completely in charge just yet, although that's shifting.
We're in a small window here.
Yeah. So what do you say to your sellers right now, or your buyers for that matter, to kind of help them navigate this intermediate time between now and the summer, for example?
So it is honestly different for everybody, and I think that depending on what their individual desires are and what's most important to them and what their needs are, so it's not a real easy answer, because it does vary for everybody depending on their individual circumstances. Whether it's somebody that wants to sell their home just so that they can move out of state to another home, and maybe market conditions are different in the other state that they're going to. We'll talk about the timing of that, and we'll talk about what's the market like there, and when's the right time to sell here so that they can get an offer made out of state. So that they can maximize on both ends of it, maximize what they sell here for, but be able to get the best deal that they can if they're moving out of state. If you want to move up in home, or if you want to move to a different city within the state here. So there's a lot of different circumstances that will dictate when's the right time, and that's all part of the process that go through with my clients. On a buying side, it's really kind of the same thing. For my buyers, a lot of it depends on what's important to them, what's important to their timing. If they've got family and they need to be in the school district prior to the next school year, things like that is just one example. So there's a lot of circumstances that will help make a difference for a buyer too.
That's so cool. It's so cool that you're helping people achieve these things. It's such a big deal. And when you see someone get their keys, it's an uplifting experience.
Oh my gosh, it is
a life
so
changer.
fun.
Yeah.
It is so fun. Yeah, even making that initial phone call saying, guess what? You got the home.
Right.
That is so exciting.
It's great.
Same
really
thing with
is.
calling, I got an offer. They're like, yes.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. And this industry to me is a blast. I love it. It's fun. I love what I do every day. And that's what keeps me going every day.
Well, I see the smile from ear to ear. And you mentioned earlier that you're from a real estate family, that home ownership is kind of in your DNA, and to help other people achieve that and to see how their lives grow. And I imagine over the years you've had repeat customers, repeat clients who are moving up into a bigger home, or downsizing into a smaller home. They're empty nesters, or they want to move to a more recreational area. You get to help them with their life journey.
I do, and it's a very special, honored treat to have that, because my business for the most part is referral business, and so thank you for your referrals, by the way. So it's something where it is a blast to watch people grow and to see the different life circumstances, and to be able to help navigate through that with them.
That's awesome. I feel the same. I honestly get that opportunity. We're in these people's lives and our clients' lives, but we're not at their dinner table, right? I mean, we help them get to that dinner table. And then when they have the next baby, or when some other life events happen, they call us up and say, hey, we need you again. Yeah. We need something's changed. And we get to be part of that, sort of helping them navigate those changes, those big life changes.
Sure do.
And that's a great thing. One last thing, totally unrelated to real estate. I'm sorry, I'm going to throw it at you.
Yeah.
You're a car guy.
I'm a car guy. Yes.
You're a car guy, and you do a lot of cool things in the community around cars and around the holidays, and it's not lost on me. I kind of want to put you on the spot a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah, tell us more a little bit about that.
It's my hobby. It's my passion. Outside of family, it's a blast. And so, coming up on 7 years ago, I started Woodinville Car Club, and this is a club that I started on Facebook initially. And my vision for it was that I I've got some cars of my own, and I'd be driving around, I'd see some other neat cars, and so I'd wind up talking to some of these other people with just fun cars, whether they're classics, exotics, custom, didn't matter what it was. We all had the same common passion. And so I started asking people, hey, is there events around here? Is there clubs? Do you know of any? And everybody I spoke to was like, well, there's this one in this town, there's this one in this town, or I drive to go here. And I said, so nothing here in the greater, no, nothing in the Woodinville area. It says, I don't know of any. I said, okay, well, so that's when I started Woodinville Car Club on Facebook. And so since then it has grown to something where we've got over 300 active members. We've got over 1,500 members that have joined it. And so we started doing the two big events during the year are always the last Sunday in August, and that's our Woodinville Wine and Hops Car Show. And so that's one where it's anybody's welcome to join in with their car. And my big thing is it's about community, so there's no fees. You don't have to pay to get into the show. You don't have to pay to enter your vehicle. It's just a different format. But got a DJ, got food trucks, ice cream trucks, coffee, and all sorts of entertainment. And then we'll have raffle prizes as well.
Nice.
And so the raffle prizes that we get are donations that are pulled together by other members. And so then the proceeds, like this last year, we raised almost $4,000 for Emily's Army, and it's actually brain cancer research for childhood brain cancer. And this all came from Emily, who was one of our members, and she unfortunately developed this brain cancer, and so we held a car show with her in her honor, and she got to choose the trophy winner of the show and everything. And so over the next couple of years, she continued to battle, and unfortunately, a year ago, lost that battle. Well, her amazing family, we worked together with them, and that's when we were able to do honor Emily in this last car show, and so all proceeds went to benefit Emily's Army. So
wow,
it was, and that was with over 300 cars that we had at that car show.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
that is such a nice thing to give back to the community that way, to bring the community together, and over a passion of yours, which other people clearly share.
They do, and it's a blast to watch. And what I've found about cars is most everybody enjoys them on one level or another, whether it's a classic, an exotic, or something. It doesn't matter what kind of car it is. It's just there's something unique about them. And so we've got members with cars from the early teens to some of the most amazing muscle cars to exotics, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens, and everything. There's many cars that are well over 7 figures in the club. So
that's so cool.
And there's cars that are simply just fun daily drivers that they share the same passion as us, and that was my vision with it, is for it to be something where we just have fun together and we enjoy it, and that's what led to Christmas time. So I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of year, and so 6 years ago started the Woodinville Christmas Light Parade, and what that turned into, it started with we had 20 cars that were all decorated for Christmas, and we paraded through downtown. And we ended in the parking lot downtown by Hagen and Red Robin. And I had some booths set up with free hot cocoa and cider and Santa photos. Since then, it's grown to a point where we have over 100 cars that show up downtown Woodinville. This last year, it was dumping snow. So as my wife, Becky, she says this is like the perfect Hallmark setting. Snowing and all the Christmas lights and everything.
Fabulous.
So usually we'll have anywhere from 150 to 200 cars, trucks, SUVs, and again, this is something that's open for anybody to join in as long as your car's decorated. And it can be a daily driver. It doesn't have to be a fancy car either. There were minivans decorated, but they just have to be decorated. And so
that's so cool.
We all parade through town. We wind up at the parking lot, and there's a DJ, and then the very last car, Santa Claus committed to showing up every year from North Pole to be able to come and take
Santa's a car guy also.
Santa's a car guy, yes. Yeah, so that's why he comes all the way down from North Pole and jumps in a nice 55 Chevy Bel Air and pulls right up, and then all the kids are excited, and then we've got a local photographer who does complimentary photos. Wow. So, and we've got food drive. We've raised thousands of dollars and thousands of pounds of food for the Storehouse Food Bank, too.
That is so cool. There's an old saying that real estate is local. I think maybe that's not an old saying, but it should be. Real estate is all about location, location, location. I honestly think that real estate is local, though. And you're giving back to the community. You are keeping it local and giving back to this great community that you're living in, that you're growing up in, that you have sold real estate in. Although you work in other parts of the area, you are a Woodinville guy.
Yeah, I cover the whole state, and because I'm a car guy, I love to drive. So if somebody says, "Hey, I'm in Eastern Washington, I want to do that," let's go. So
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So, question I have for you.
Sure.
What about clients that are in a situation where they're questioning their credit, and do I have good enough credit to buy a home?
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear that question is my credit good enough? Can I even buy a house? What do you have for those clients?
I got great news for those clients because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, in their mission to help make homeownership more accessible to people exactly in that situation, are changing the cost of money. And this is going to go a little bit deep, and I'm going to try to keep it top line, but we create loans, we close loans, we end up selling them to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and the rates and the fees are associated are based on a variety of things, one of which is credit score. Now, it used to be that the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate and the lower your fees. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as of May, are changing that.
Oh, really?
Indeed, they are. And so they're making it more affordable for people with less than perfect credit and with a lower down payment. So if you've got credit that's like 660 or 680 and you've only got 5% down payment, it's going to be a lot more affordable for you than it would be if you had a 720 credit score and 20% down.
Interesting.
And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is doing that specifically because they are mandated, or they are taking the mantra and the mandate of helping people get into home ownership, and they're looking at where are these traditional and historic sticking points for that initial buyer. And oftentimes it has to do with the down payment, and it has to do with the fact that their credit isn't great. They've had some challenges, or as I tell clients, they often don't know what their credit looks like. I've had clients that were terrified of their credit scores and their credit profile, and we run their credit for the first time, and they're holding their breath, and they're like, I don't want to see it. It's like at a horror movie, and it turns out that their credit is really quite good.
Yeah.
And they were just seeing monsters under the bed, or they just assumed the worst. So you really don't know, but I'll tell you that credit scores will go down to 620, in some cases even lower than that, and so that's really accommodating. And now, especially with the new pricing that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is coming up with, it's going to not punish the consumer for having less than perfect credit. So this is a great time coming into the spring market. It's a really good time to be a home buyer. Specifically, if you're worried about your credit, don't worry. We'll find a way.
That's great. Yeah, that's some big opportunity.
It really is. And it's a shift that not everybody is aware of just yet.
First I've actually heard of.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's neat.
It takes time to get this information out. Unfortunately, our media doesn't do a great job because they're busy, first of all, selling doom and gloom. Secondly, it's complicated, and it doesn't fit into a very concise 30-second blurb before you go to the next commercial. So it takes a little bit of time to get detailed information to the public. But that's why you need to speak with professionals like yourself, people like me. This is our job. This is what we do, and I live it and breathe it and talk to other people about it. So we have to be topical, and we have to know what's going on in our industry to help people out, because there are people sitting on their hands right now thinking, I'll never be able to afford a home, when in reality, it's waiting for them.
It is, yes.
Yeah, so credit's one of those things, especially when you're dealing with people from foreign countries. They just don't know, because they come from places where they don't have credit the same way we have credit. So they just kind of automatically think that I've got terrible credit. And I'm here to tell you that most people don't. Most people have credit that's workable. And now we're going to get into a situation where it's going to be more affordable for those folks. So it's great news. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
It really is.
So what about for our clients who have a home, want to start shopping homes?
Yes.
But they don't know for sure, do I put my house on now? Because what if I can't find it? Is there, what are their options there?
This is the best news I can give you. This is the coolest thing. I refer to this as the rich uncle loan. We have a rich uncle. That rich uncle
I like a rich uncle.
Who wouldn't like a rich uncle? I mean, honestly, I don't have kids. I have nieces and nephews, and I aspire to be the rich uncle for them. I aspire to be that guy that comes into town and just say, hey, let me really upset your parents. All right, let me do something fun for you. But no, honestly, the rich uncle loan is, for lack of a better word, it's a cash buyer that will buy the home for our clients, rent it to them in the short term, and then sell it back to them when they're ready to buy. So if you've got clients that need to buy their next home before they sell their current one, rich uncle, assuming they qualify, there's always terms and conditions, guys, please. It's not just an open checkbook, but it's a very open sort of process. Assuming they qualify, rich uncle will pay cash for that new home, let them move in, and then they sell the old home without the family and the pets and the kids and the clutter and everything else in that property. Once they sell that old home, they use the proceeds as a down payment and buy the new home back from rich uncle. So it's kind of like a bridge loan.
They can go and buy a house, have you pay cash for it.
Yes,
Your rich uncle.
Right.
Pay cash for it, and then they can worry about selling their house, moving stuff out of it. They can actually move out of their existing home, move into their new home, not have the stress of the timing and having to keep the house all clean for showings all the time.
Exactly.
It's a pretty great program.
It's incredible, and it works for people exactly like what you described. I've got clients right now. They've got 3 kids, ages 6 to 11, I believe. They've got dogs, and they've plain outgrown that house. I helped them finance that house when it was just the 2 of them. Right now, the first kid came along, that's great, and the second one, and they're only getting bigger, thank goodness. And now they just simply don't have the space. But they also can't show that home the way it needs to be shown. It's very difficult with young kids to keep the house clean. With kids and dogs, what are you going to do? Like every time someone wants to see the home, you got to get everybody into the van and get them down to the pizza place or the whatever for an hour to let.
Yes.
It's just not practical.
Yeah.
Rich uncle makes this whole process much easier for families like that.
Now, when we look at the average prices of homes around here, though, if we look at the history of different types of products that were like that, where, a rich uncle type of program where, hey, we'll help you up to, say, 6, 7, 800,000.
Right.
What about this case?
$2 million.
$2 million.
$2 million.
$2 million. So you could buy up to a $2 million home, pay cash.
Yes.
And how does it work with that pay cash? Because if we look at historically, or this, especially the last number of years, and we look at when it comes to competing offers, buyer A saying, hey, I'm putting 20% down, I'm financing. Yeah, we have to have an appraisal, we have to do all this, we have to get our lender involved, but we wanted to buy the house, we're going to pay a premium for it. Buyer B says, I'm just writing a check, I'm paying cash.
Yeah.
Which one of these buyers are they now in this situation?
They are the cash buyer.
They're the cash buyer. So
They're
now
the
they
cash
actually
buyer.
have a leg up on the financing buyer.
That's exactly
because
right.
all thanks to Rich Uncle.
All things, exactly. Rich uncle is the buyer. So we have 2 contracts that are in place simultaneously. The first one is rich uncle is the buyer and the homeowner is the seller. And then once that contract is signed, rich uncle creates a second contract with our clients where rich uncle is the seller and they're the buyers. It doesn't matter to the sellers because they're going to get their money quickly.
Right.
Rich uncle's going to write that check in 10 days. They're going to pay cash. When rich uncle writes the offer, rich uncle gives bank statements as well, showing proof of funds. Here's the money in the bank, rich uncle's account here. And it's a huge competitive advantage. And it's going to be really helpful for all clients. Yeah. The ones that have a home to sell and they need that conduit or that bridge loan or they need some timing issues, that's definitely an issue. But I remember in the old days of 2021 when we had those buyers that had maybe 5% down payment and they were just getting crushed with the multiple offers. Along comes someone who's like, hey, I'll put down 50%. I'm not worried about a low appraisal. I can escalate above your asking price because I really love your home and I'm tired of being beaten. Yep. Right? Our 5% down buyers just could not compete with that. Well, along comes rich uncle. Cash money, write a check, 10 days. What do you say? The seller does not care if Rich Uncle is going to own that home or sell it to the next person.
Hey,
The
they got
seller's
their
gonna
check.
Exactly.
They don't care.
Exactly right. And so for those buyers that we're trying to help get into this market,
Yeah.
who don't have the best credit, don't have the down payment, don't have what they think it takes to win in a competitive environment, Rich Uncle is in your corner writing checks. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm thrilled to be able to promote it because it will help so many people that don't even know that they need the help right now. But when we go back to that seller market and we see 10, 15 offers per home, Rich Uncle is going to cut through a lot of that noise.
It's a big competitive edge there for sure.
Yeah. And we're excited for it. I've got quite a few transactions in the pipeline right now, and I'm trying to tell as many people about it as possible because it will be a game changer, whether you've got a home to sell or whether you're buying your first home and you just want to be more competitive as the market changes.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, final one for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, next question I have for you.
Sure.
Investments. So I have a lot of clients who have purchased their first home and are interested in buying another home. They want to start investing. They want to start building wealth. They want to start really, like we talked about before, that retirement opportunity. Right. And so they want to have rental properties. But the question oftentimes is, if I want a rental property, then when can I do it? I just bought a house. When can I buy my next property? Do I have to put a ton of money down? I hear you have to put like 20, 30% down to buy a rental. People are wondering, can they use the income from the rental? So there's a lot of questions that I get from clients that are looking to invest. And so I'm curious as to what programs do you have and what advice do you have for my clients in that situation?
It's a great question. It's a great way to build wealth. And I highly recommend that everybody kind of think about doing that. I actually have clients I was talking to yesterday about this. They bought a home. They've been living there for the last year. They just hit their 1-year anniversary. They got an email from me saying, hey, it's been a year. Let's talk about checking in, seeing how things are going. How's your new home? Well, what they want to do is turn that home into a rental. Perfect, and buy their next home, move into that, and live there for a year while they save up money and do it again. And this is not a wealthy family. He's a school teacher. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they come from a bunch of wealth, but this is an opportunity. They can come in with as little as 3.5% down for an FHA loan. They can move into that home. After the first year of home ownership, you can buy your next owner-occupied home.
After just 1 year.
After just 1 year.
Very little down.
That's exactly right. So move into your new home, live there, get comfortable, but not too comfortable because you're going to be moving again. But at the same time, save up for that next down payment. After a year, you can start looking for your new home. You can buy that with as little as 3.5% down, move into that one, create a rental out of the old one. We can actually use 75% of the potential rental income off of that home. We'll get an appraisal to tell us what that looks like, but we can add that to your qualifying income so that you're not carrying both mortgages when we do the new loan for you on the new home purchase. But that's what I would do. I would love to help your clients do that. I'd love to help anybody do that, whether they're buying their first home or their 15th home. It's still a wonderful process.
Big opportunity.
It is, and the market's only getting better. So now's the time.
That.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for just sharing your wealth of knowledge and information. Thank you for the car club information. That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. And it's wonderful that you're giving that charity away and helping make our community a better place. Really appreciate your time today.
No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here and share, but also learn. Even myself here, I was able to learn a lot about some different programs that I didn't even know existed. So that's where, we depend on each other to keep the knowledge of the industry and of everything that's available out there. So it's absolutely.
It's always changing. That's part of the fun, but there's always opportunities.
That's for sure.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Rich McKee, Marketplace Sotheby's. Give him a call. Check out his car collection. Check out his car parades. And please, you're welcome in the studio anytime. Come back and join us. Let's talk more real estate and more cars.
Yeah, certainly appreciate that. It's Rich McKee, 425-770-4565.
Give him a call. You will not regret it.